Hello everyone. I am Mr. Dread who has been telling you stories all the time. Today we are going to talk about the taboos of staying in a hotel. What should I pay attention to when staying in a hotel? Are you determined to avoid the last room? Or do you have to knock 3 times before entering? Maybe these are not the most critical. After listening to today's story, you may have a different answer. This is the true experience of a friend from Australia, Julian. In May this year, he traveled alone to Thailand. It was originally just an ordinary trip to worship Buddha, but in a hotel in the ancient city of Chiang Mai, he encountered a series of strange events that could not be explained by common sense. From the inexplicable bloody scratches on his body and the dense handprints on the wall, to the dark shadow outside the door and the crying sound beside the bed late at night. All these details were like an invisible net, enveloping him step by step. In the end, Julian chose to flee overnight, and this journey has become a memory that he cannot let go of. This happened between May and June of this year. During those days, Julian went to Bangkok, Thailand to worship Buddha, and also planned to visit Chiang Mai. He had usually traveled to Thailand with friends before, but this was his first time traveling alone. When booking a hotel in Chiang Mai, he originally considered avoiding the ancient city area, because that area was once the capital of the Lana dynasty, and later became an ancient battlefield, with corpses everywhere and blood flowing like a river. Thai locals generally believe that the area is very clean, and is not a place where ordinary tourists should stay for a long time. But the reality is helpless. The ancient city has the most convenient transportation, especially suitable for independent travelers. After weighing the pros and cons, and considering that he had never encountered such supernatural events, he finally chose a small hotel in the ancient city that was modern and looked full of young energy. Julian arrived in Chiang Mai from Bangkok at 6:30 in the morning. After getting off the bus, he quickly had breakfast and took a motorcycle taxi to the hotel. It was a small 2-story hotel with a compact structure and a modern mix of local styles. The front desk staff was mild-mannered and he paid an extra fee to apply for early check-in. The room I was assigned was at the end of the corridor on the 2nd floor. Strictly speaking, it was not the last room because there was another room next to it facing the corridor. But the overall location was still the last room in the corner. Arriving at the door of the room, Julian knocked on the door 3 times politely according to local custom, whispered, "Excuse me," and then swiped his card to enter. Everything was normal at first. He put down his luggage, took a shower, and hung clothes on the balcony. Just as he lowered his head to fold the clothes, he suddenly noticed a strange gaze from downstairs. It was a street vendor, who was looking up and staring in his direction. His eyes were unnatural, a mixture of inquiry and a certain vigilance. Julian felt a little confused, but didn't care and soon went back to bed to catch up on some sleep. He didn't sleep well that night. He was drowsy and dreaming all afternoon, feeling like something was scratching his body. The feeling of nails scratching his skin was clear and real, but it didn't feel like a tickle, more like a warning touch. But because he was too tired from the journey the day before, he never really woke up and slept until the evening. After waking up, he went out shopping and had dinner. When he returned to the room, he was already sweating, so he took another shower. The moment he finished washing and drying his body, he froze in front of the mirror. There were 3 vertical scratches on his abdomen, with the skin and flesh turned up, and even blood oozing out, which was a shocking sight. That was not an illusion in a dream, but a real scar. He stood in front of the mirror and stared at his wound. The more he thought about it, the more he felt something was wrong. First, when normal people scratch unconsciously, their hands usually move horizontally because it is more convenient. However, these 3 scratches are vertical, extending from the ribs to the navel, as if some inhuman claws had scratched them fiercely. Second, the scratches were very deep, obviously not caused by a casual scratch. When he returned to Shanghai, a thick scab had formed on the area. He began to feel a little scared, but he forced himself to remain calm and simply applied some medicine to treat the wound. He had just finished changing his clothes and was about to hang them on the balcony when he saw the vendor again. Still standing downstairs, still looking up at him, but this time his eyes were even stranger than in the morning, even with a bit of pity. Julian's heart skipped a beat and he began to feel uneasy. But what really made his scalp tingle was the next discovery. When he walked to the bed and turned on the bedside lamp, the light shone on the wall, revealing a whole wall of handprints. There were dense, varying depths and sizes. Almost every clean wall had traces of handprints, as if someone had been slapping, scratching, and struggling there frantically. He gasped in fear and froze in place. I recalled that I didn't notice these handprints when I first entered the room. Maybe it was because I was too tired and didn't even look up at the wall. He once wanted to change rooms, but when he saw that the luggage was already filling the whole room, and remembered the rumors about couple games he had seen on the internet before, he tried to comfort himself. Maybe it was just a prank between the guests. After much hesitation, he decided to stay. He took off the Buddha amulet he was wearing, placed it on the bedside table, and took a deep breath. Perhaps with it by his side, he could feel more at ease. Fortunately, the night was uneventful. The next morning, Julian went to the famous local Warat market and bought some dried fruits and specialties to bring back home. On the way back to the hotel, he bought 3 vacuum-packed packages of sour mangoes at the 7-Eleven convenience store downstairs. He remembered clearly that because there was no checked baggage allowance on the ticket, these things could only be brought on board with him, so he carefully checked the package seal on the spot to make sure it was not damaged. After returning to the room, he casually placed 3 bags of mangoes on the table, chatted with his friends on the phone for a while, and then went to bed for a nap. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. After falling asleep, he soon fell into a strange state. When he regained consciousness, he found that his body was completely unable to move. His fingers were stiff, his tongue was heavy, and his whole body seemed to be pressed down by something. He suspected that he was crushed on the bed. He tried hard to wake up, but couldn't break free. At this moment, he suddenly caught sight of 2 dark figures out of the corner of his eye. One was standing in front of the balcony, seemingly peering into the house. The other was walking outside the door, as if looking for the entrance. What was even more bizarre was that what Julian saw at this moment was not a dreamlike fantasy, but the original appearance of his room, with just a little perspective added. He saw the shadow outside the door, standing there, lingering. The 2 dark figures seemed to be playing hide and seek, and he was the one trapped in the secret compartment. Julian's heart was pounding and sweat was soaking his back, but he still couldn't move. He repeatedly chanted the Buddha's name in his heart, but it was of no use. In desperation, he began to hold his breath and suddenly let out a loud roar. Finally, his body was freed from the suffocating feeling. He sat up suddenly, and as if he was exhausted, he collapsed on the bed and gasped for breath. The light in the room grew dim, and he looked around, his head still buzzing. Just then, he saw 3 packages of mangoes placed on the table. One of them was broken and the juice seeped out and dripped onto the floor. He was stunned. He remembered the 3 packages of mangoes very clearly. The packaging was intact and placed flat. But now, one of the packages seemed to have been torn open, and acid was splattered all over the floor. This is no accident. Julian felt a chill rising from the soles of his feet. This room was really unclean. Julian felt a chill down his spine. He stared at the damaged mango bag, and various possibilities emerged in his mind, but he rejected them one by one. He had clearly checked the packaging, and it had not been bumped or squeezed by any external force. Now, the mangoes in this package just split open by themselves, as if it was sending him some unspoken message. He couldn't sit still any longer. He immediately picked up his phone, told his friends about the strange situation he had just experienced, and whispered to the room, "I'm sorry if I disturbed you. I'll leave early tomorrow morning and won't stay long. If you like this bag of mangoes, please take it." He completely opened the package of cracked mangoes and placed it in the middle of the table like an offering. Then he turned and walked into the bathroom, hoping that the water would wash away the fear in his heart. But the moment he came out of the shower, his eyes swept across the bathroom door, and another chill hit him. On the originally clean door panel, there was a large handprint with clear knuckles, as if someone had just held the door and leaned out to look at him. Julian was stunned for several seconds without making any sound. Perhaps because his fear had passed a certain threshold, his nerves had become dull, and he even developed a strange sense of habituation. He didn't touch the handprint again, nor did he say anything else. Instead, he put on his coat silently and walked out to have dinner. He returned to his room around 8 o'clock in the evening. Because of what happened that afternoon, he couldn't really relax anymore. He drew all the curtains and turned on every light in the house, letting the light fill every corner of the room. He told himself that as long as he could get through tonight and go to the airport early tomorrow morning, everything would be over. So he lay on the bed, opened his phone and watched videos, trying his best to divert his mind and stop thinking about those messy things. But reality did not let him go. Just as he was about to fall asleep, he suddenly heard a faint sound in his ears, a woman crying. The sound was very light, not like someone crying in the room, but rather like a remnant of sound permeating from the air. At first he thought it was hallucination, but the more he listened, the more real it became. The most terrifying thing was that although the crying was faint, it overwhelmed the street noise outside the window, as if it was made just for him. He sat up suddenly, his head felt swollen, his chest felt stuffy, and even his breathing was a little difficult. He opened the door to confirm if there was anyone else crying. There were people chatting and talking in several rooms outside. The atmosphere was lively and there was nothing unusual. He closed the door, moved back to the bed step by step, and was about to lie down again when the crying sound came back again. This time, it was clearer than the last time, as if it was right beside the bed, like an invisible woman, crying alone in the night. The crying continued for several minutes. Julian's body began to react. His limbs became weak. His back felt cold. His stomach churned, and he felt as if he was soaked in ice water. He knew that he really couldn't hold on any longer. It was too late to change rooms now, and he didn't dare to stay in this hotel any longer. He immediately packed his luggage, not daring to look back the whole time. He felt as if there were a pair of eyes staring at him from behind, and even the sound of opening the closet door became unusually harsh. Picking up the bag, he took one last look around the room and said, "I'm really leaving. Sorry to bother you." Then he turned and rushed out the door. He checked out of the hotel, took a taxi, and headed straight to Chiang Mai Airport. At this moment, he was sweating all over. His heart was beating like a drum, and he almost didn't dare to look back at the night outside the window. It was already past midnight when he arrived at the airport. He finally felt the air flowing more smoothly and his heartbeat gradually became stable. After finding a relatively bright and quiet corner to sit down, he finally had the opportunity to calmly review the details of the past 2 days. He suddenly realized that the scratches on his abdomen when he woke up on the first day might be some kind of warning, and the vendor who had been looking at him with strange eyes might have known what was wrong with this room. The handprints on the wall are not necessarily traces of lovers playing. Perhaps they are a distress signal left by someone in extreme pain with all his strength. After returning home, Julian told the story to a friend. The friend was silent for a few seconds and then said, "That room is probably really a problem room." The friend also asked him, "Did you see the Buddhist shrine at the entrance of the hotel?" Julian recalled carefully and shook his head. "It seems not." My friend nodded and said, "Then it's possible that the hotel owner is keeping the drifters." Thai people attach great importance to this kind of thing, especially in places where tourists frequently come and go. They will definitely set up a Buddhist shrine to maintain order. If not, it means that either the hotel itself is too gloomy or it has other purposes. Julian asked again, "What was that crying sound I heard?" My friend answered slowly, "That should be the spirit in the hotel. Can't get out and it doesn't want to be disturbed. So when someone senses it, it will create some kind of signal to remind you not to get close." After this trip, Julian was still in shock. He also solemnly reminded everyone, the most important thing to pay attention to when staying in a hotel is never the price or the scenery, but your intuition. If you feel something is wrong, you really need to change rooms immediately, because once you are entangled, it will be difficult to get out. Well, that's the story for this issue. I am Mr. Dread, the friend who always accompanies you with stories. If you like today's story, please like and subscribe. Or, if you have experienced something similar, please let me know in the comments. See you in the next story.